What's going on, guys? Getting ready to sharpen a knife for a buddy of mine. Figure why not fire up the camera and we'll kind of take you guys through the typical process I go through when getting a knife to sharpen. This happens to be an old Ontario stacked leather handle. It's got the kind of the hex bolster there, or pommel rather. Just a standard flat guard. And handle's been a little bent, which maybe that was intentional. I know the old Gerber, I think it was the Mark IIs, used to have a little bit of a cant to them, so they'd fit against the hip a little better. This kind of does that, I guess. You always wonder about the history of these older knives. I don't know how old this thing is. It's obviously been used and abused a little bit, although not terribly so. A little bit of Scotch tape or something on there, packing tape. Some other mystery residues. Been sharpened a little bit here or there. Looks like even the back of the blade was sharpened. Kind of debating. I may touch that up as well. We'll see. May actually remove that false edge. I don't know. Try to get that point back into working order. It's got some kind of like a saw blade on it. See if I got something. A lot of times these old saw blades were mostly useless. This is probably one of those. It's definitely got some sharp teeth. Actually works. I don't know. I wouldn't want to cut a tree down with it. Maybe for cutting like a green branch or something, it wouldn't be that bad. But at any rate, it's a cool old knife. Buddy wanted an edge put on it. We'll see how it goes. You know, getting that primary established. May go ahead and touch up that false, or well, what is usually a false edge or a swedge. It's actually a live edge almost. It's been sharpened. Not completely, but a little bit. And we'll see what happens. So anyway, set this over here by the sheath. Just gonna have to add a couple attachments here to the belt grinder. Normally I will tilt this back at least just a little bit. And we'll probably move to a little higher grip belt. I usually will not sharpen at less than 220. Unless it's like really needing some work. This is a 240. Slightly used. This is a J weight, so it does have a little bit of flex to it, but we're going to be using a flat platen, so that really doesn't come too much into play. And I've got some sharpening accessories here. Most of this setup is made by me, with the exception of the blade clamp. Got this guy, I got this from Tormek. It's a self-centering blade clamp. Works really well, tool-free adjustments, nice and short so you can get a good grip on it. I don't use it for every blade I sharpen, but anymore I'm using it for most blades. Now I'm going to kind of center it on the blade here, try to get at least a little bit of a flat spot. Now on this blade, it's got a pretty deep fuller here, but it does have a parallel spine for the most part. It does have a ricasso as well I could always clamp on, but if I can, I like to center kind of on the blade. We're just kind of eyeballing it. If I can get that edge kind of parallel to the front of this clamp, that's all the better. Or mostly parallel. It does have a little bit of belly to it. Should be able to work with that. Now the question is, you know, what's the angle? Do we set a fixed angle? Do we try to follow the existing angle? This thing's been sharpened a few times. It's got a couple different angles on this side. Pretty consistent one on this side. Might actually try to match this one up first. Means I'm going to raise this slightly. Now with this blade clamp, you can either hook it above the front of this or rest it on the back of this. Really, it depends kind of on the blade I'm grinding. Just gonna kind of sight. That's actually pretty good there. I'm gonna flip it over. I'm actually going to reset this up a little bit. Rather than centering the middle of this with the middle of this, I'm going to offset it just a little bit. That way I'm not hitting this middle post. So everything's pretty tight. Probably raise that just a little more. Not a lot. Make sure we're parallel to the front of the wheel. And again, I'm just looking at the blade. I got a couple little dings in there I'm going to take out. Again, we'll try to fix this tip a little bit. This belt's a little dirty. We'll clean it first. I don't want the blade running super fast, but not terribly slow either. Center that belt up. You know what, before we get too deep into this, let's do a little cut test. I mean, there's a little bit of an edge here and there, like right about there. Little bit of an edge, lots of dings, really dull up here. and you're not getting anything there. So, let's get to it. We'll do one pass on this side just to see how it looks. Definitely cleaning it up a lot. We're going to dunk it as we go. Trying to keep everything as flat, parallel, even as we can. I'm going to do one pass from the other side now. It's actually looking pretty good. Still a little bit of material left to go. And my blade's coming loose. Make sure to tighten this clamp up a little better. Feeling the blade, make sure it's not getting hot. A little more to go. I am looking, even though my belt is coming towards me, I am still looking for a little bit of a burr. Starting to see that form. I also want to keep in mind my limits, because there is a plunge here. I don't want to go past that and dig into the ricasso. That's for both sides. Also, remembering my belt does have flex in the edges of this platen are rounded. So when I get down towards the bottom, I want to make sure my flat at the end is on a flat on the platen. So I track my belt over just a little bit. This is a thick knife, so it's going to have a little bit of a thick secondary, but that's what was there, so we're kind of following that. Now for the other side, I'll track back over, make sure I'm off this rounded corner of my platen. Following the curve. Looking at the light reflecting, I still got one little ding left right here in the middle. I just need to take a little more material. Almost gone. Just the tiniest little remnant left to go. And again, we want to make sure we're keeping flat. Very little material to grip on this, so I got to be careful. Alright, that took all the nick and the burr out. I'm just going to clean up the ends here on the belly, the curve. This tip's starting to sharpen up pretty nice. So now I'm going to use kind of the corner of the platen, see if I can't touch this wedge up a little bit carefully. And you do want to be careful on the corner of the belt. This can dig in a little bit and ruin your belt. Get a little better grip on this. Looking pretty good. Pretty sharp point now. We'll do a little more. Alright, I don't need that shaving sharp per se. Gonna clean this tip one more time, center everything up. Good. All right, I'd say some of that dust off there. Say this guy's probably about as good as it's gonna get. We're just gonna head it across the buffer a few times, clean a little bit of the skunk off the blade, and then we'll do a cut test. See if I can move this tripod. Using a black compound from Phoenix Abrasive. Just a little bit will do you. Polishing that edge up. False edge, which is not so false anymore. And one more time. And we'll just hit it with some spray. This is really good stuff. TFL-50. It's a wet lube. It's got, I'm gonna say, some silicone in it, but it's good for cleaning, lubricating, protecting. There's no toxic stuff in here. No wax, no kerosene, nothing like that. Not that wax would be bad on a blade like this. We could probably even put a little mineral oil on this leather just to help keep it from drying out. I might do that off camera. Got some ballistol. Well, let's see if we're a little better now. Just a little. Probably won't show up on camera, but we're nice and hair popping sharp, shaving sharp. Got all the nicks out of there. You know, sharpen that tip up nicely. Not sure you'd probably shave with that false edge, but definitely leaned it out a little bit more. So yeah, we'll oil up this handle, we'll call it good. As far as like a full restoration, I'm not going to do that to this blade. You know, it's got what appears maybe to be like a parkerized finish, or what's left of that. I'm not going to go too nuts on there. I'm not going to refinish it or polish the whole thing, or, you know, redip it, anything like that. Clean some of these quote-unquote saw teeth out. Sure, I got a little bit of junk in there too. Still pretty sharp though. So yeah, it's this old Ontario. Where did I see that? Ontario, New York, 1-1969. So yeah, cool old knife. You know, if my buddy had asked me, I'd probably try to straighten this blade or this handle out a little bit. I think it has been bent by a user at some point, but it's still pretty comfortable. Now it's nice and sharp. I mean, I don't think he really used this for much. It was like a shop knife or something. He just kept handy in his garage. But yeah, it's got a little more life into it. Definitely, you know, back to its original cutting glory. So a couple little spots I wanted to polish up just a little more. This just helps get that buffing compound back off. And really I could probably use this for that leather. Although it's a little harsher maybe than the mineral oil. You know, let me go ahead and grab that real quick. Got this old can of ballistol I bought years and years ago. Don't really use it all that much. I still got that smell that just brings back memories. Mineral oil smell. Some people love it, some people hate it. Not bad for keeping the leather from drying completely out. Even good for the steel if you want to coat the steel. This oil's probably got so many oils and things soaked up into it. May not take too much of this. So yeah, that's it. Fortunately, I busted this cap off years ago, so I just kind of poke it back on there. Probably need to go set that somewhere it won't get knocked over. Cool leather sheath, rawhide sheath. Still does the job though. Got a nice little metal kind of toe cover there. Keep that blade from poking through. Little sharpening stone holder. Who knows where that stone ever ended up, but yeah, it'll live to cut another day. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I know it dragged on a little bit long, but that's just a standard sharpening practice. I do a little bit differently for kitchen knives and stuff, especially thinner blades. Normally I do put a fixed angle on those because there's so little of a secondary edge. I can make it exactly what I think it should be, whether it's, you know, 30, 35, maybe even 25 degrees. Just depending on the application. Could be more, could be less, but that's a little touch up on an old Ontario military knife for a buddy of mine. I believe this belonged to his brother, so I'll give that back to him when I see him next, and I think he'll be happy. Any questions or comments, you know where to leave them. As always, guys, I appreciate your watching. We'll see you on the next one.